Prince William's idea to get this all done, at once really shows the resolve that he's putting his money where his mouth is.
Prince William knows that it's not just Andrew and Sarah and Beatrice and Eugenie which need to be dealt with. It's Harry, Meghan, Archie and Lily too. And he wants his father to be tougher.
Absolutely, Harry and Meghan are far more dangerous.
Breaking today, a massive sea change here in the United Kingdom, with Prince William now winning this huge battle with his father, King Charles, for there to be an Act of Parliament introduced at Westminster to jettison not just Prince Andrew, Beatrice and Eugenie, but also Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, Archie and Lily once and for all. The growing scandal engulfing the British royal family has overshadowed for King Charles what was meant to be a historic visit to the Vatican, where he became the first head of the Church of England to pray with the pontiff in 500 years. But of course, all the international media is laser focused on is how on earth the monarch is going to save this institution that his mother worked so hard to without his brother causing terminal damage. We've got so much news to get to on this today. I am delighted to have with me Lee Cohen. He is a royal and foreign policy expert, a columnist for Fox News, The Spectator, and The Daily Telegraph. Lee, so good to have you back on Outspoken. And I do want to get to this column, which has gone completely viral in just a moment in terms of how on earth King Charles can deal with this situation. But can we just get to the breaking news first today, Lee? Because from everything that my sources are telling me, there is now a growing acceptance, not just amongst the British government, not just amongst MPs, but also amongst courtiers at Buckingham Palace, that there is going to have to be an Act of Parliament, that King Charles didn't go far enough last week, and that William is right that this could all be done in one fell swoop. Because you've got to remember, Lee, while Andrew has definitely behaved badly in many ways and lied, if you look at the results of my Outspoken poll, we've had over 100,000 people voting on this now, Lee. Actually, Meghan Markle is, in their view, the biggest threat to the royal family. So deal with this once and for all. But Lee, what are you hearing?
Well, Dan, I'm delighted to be with you. Thank you so much for having me. And this is truly a momentous time. So I'm so glad that we're speaking. Where to start? I'm not surprised that the public feel that Meghan Markle is one of the greatest threats, because while Prince Andrew committed unforgivable misdeeds and, as you say, lied about them, um, he did never set out to do damage. And Meghan Markle certainly had an unforgivable vendetta, a score to settle. And who knows? Perhaps she didn't even have the score to settle. Perhaps it was her design before she even married into the royal family to bring it down, as one of the bedrocks of Western civilization, because she's clearly on a woke crusade, to fight everything that is bolsters Western civilization. So having said that, I think it's very smart what you said at the beginning, to kind of this surgical precision to take care of all these things at once, because otherwise, yes, it was a tremendous step forward for the King and the Prince of Wales to pressure Prince Andrew to relinquish the titles, and to stop using the titles, although of course he still has them legally. However, many commentators and the public have remarked that this really hasn't gone all that far to address the problem. But in my view, it's a good first step. It hasn't gone so far to address the problem. Some feel because, of course, he still has the use of Royal Lodge, and he still enjoys the title, even though he's agreed to have them in abeyance and not use Your Royal Highness, etc. So I think Prince William's idea to get this all done, you know, at once really shows the resolve that he's putting his money where his mouth is. And as you know, Dan, the monarchy is a compact with the public. It really only survives as long as it maintains the trust and admiration of the public. Of course, there are constitutional backstops to that. But once the monarchy has lost, gone over the Rubicon, as it were, to the other side and is more unpopular than it's popular, then I think, really we could start to see things unravel for the future of the monarchy in an unprecedented way that we've never seen before.
Prince William knows. Prince William knows that it's not just Andrew and Sarah and Beatrice and Eugenie which need to be dealt with. It's Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lily too. And he wants his father to be tougher. I think that has to happen. I really, really do, Lee. Now, look, I'm hearing that there's going to be massive pushback from Harry and Meghan, that they are utterly furious at the suggestion that they are in some way lumped in to the same situation as Andrew, and that Harry will lobby hard. And as we have seen, he's not afraid to go behind his father's back and lobby the government directly, Lee. So it could get messy. And William sort of has that ruthlessness to deal with it. But do you think Charles does? A very quick but personal message from me to you to let you know that the best way you can support Dan Wootton Outspoken is to subscribe to my Substack at www.outspoken.live. Substack is a free speech platform that protects me from big tech cancellation and lawfare. Paid annual or monthly subscribers get an extra hour of content with the Royal Uncancelled After Show available every weekday with no advertising whatsoever. You can also message me direct on there. That's www.outspoken.live.
Well, I think we really have to give some slack to the king. I mean, he's carried on under the worst of circumstances, Dan. He got while we've never heard it's a death sentence, certainly a cancer diagnosis really puts things in perspective for a life. And it's so cruel because he's only been monarch a bit longer than a year, and his beloved late mother's reign was just unforgettable, and he really hasn't even had a chance to make his mark. Not only that, by all accounts, he really is a loving family member and someone for whom blood is thicker than water. But of course, that has to balance out with the fact that being the king is he's not just the head of a club or a family group, family reunion. He's the head of a state, and he has responsibilities and duties that could collide, and often do so, with his family pullings. And therefore, I think he's really, dancing between two music. And that's a very difficult situation to be in. But I think he sees the writing on the wall, and he realizes that the time has come, and there is, this is really a watershed moment where he has to take a definitive stance, and he's pushed by the good counsel and the good instincts, in this case, of the Prince of Wales. So thank heaven for that, because what we all want, I imagine, is what King Charles wants. Not all of us, but those of us who are supportive of the monarchy. We want to see the monarchy continue. We know how important it is for Britain's image, for Britain's cultural identity. And without it, Britain becomes, just another republic very ordinary. The monarchy then enables Britain to punch above its weight diplomatically in the world. It's so full of good things. And it's true. Not everyone agrees with every decision the king's made, but he's a person like anyone else, and he has his own ideas, and he has his ideas of how to put the stamp on his reign as monarch, as will the Prince of Wales when it's his turn.
Yeah, the thing is, Lee, you're very right to point that out because there are lots of folk on the left who are now advocating here in the United Kingdom for the discussion to begin about a republic. And that's why William is so attuned to the fact that something has to be done. At the same time, Meghan Markle is obviously erupting. Remember, she told Oprah Winfrey that it was her children's birthright to be a prince and a princess. Now, that is because of George V back in 1917. It's a letters patent that he introduced. Well, another letters patent can be introduced by the reigning monarch. And Meghan and Harry, if they had any idea about royal history, should have known that. But what's interestingly is you're seeing their allies in the left-wing media, including the truly revolting James O'Brien, push this narrative. Watch.
Deeply, deeply obnoxious that the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, gets lumped in with his idiot uncle as somehow being problematic. A military hero who has done more to point out the corruption of the British media than almost anybody else in public life, being lumped in with a bloke who has been a disgrace to the family for decades is truly, truly absurd. Actually mentioning the Duke of Sussex, Harry and Meghan constitute massive, massive news stories as well, because they offered such a wonderful opportunity to many members of the media to paint them as, or to essentially drive pages and pages, hours and hours of journalism motivated almost entirely by the fact that the one of the most senior members of the royal family had the audacity to fall in love with a woman of colour, something that drives a coach and horses, if you pardon the pun, through much of our establishment presumptions.
I mean, look, Lee, he's one of the worst people in Britain, without any doubt, James O'Brien. But to suggest that Prince Harry is not problematic to the royal family, to paint him as a military hero and nothing else, just pretends that the past 5 years haven't happened. And the thing is, Lee, Andrew, for all of his faults, has never actually tried to destroy the British monarchy, to spread false allegations of racism, to deride the late Queen's life work in terms of the Commonwealth, and suggesting that actually it's just the British Empire 2.0, to do terrible damage to this institution in countries throughout Africa and the Caribbean where there is a majority black population. So I'm sorry, that just doesn't work for me. They are a threat, they are dangerous, and I believe they are a bigger problem, and I think William knows that.
100% right, Dan. As you said, the Harry and Meghan set out to do deliberate damage, and in my article, I call them saboteurs. And
Yes.
I actually would go as far to say that Harry is a traitor because he betrayed his country. He betrayed one of the leading institutions of his country that is so synonymous, Dan, with the identity of Britain and really displays Britain at its best. The monarchy. He disgraced the monarchy, Dan. He disgraced his family. It's such a joke, Dan. Here Harry and Meghan are getting awards for being humanitarians. And, humanitarians don't treat family like that. They don't betray their country like that. This is so ridiculous. And what O'Brien said about him being a military hero is as ridiculous as when Harry got that award for being a hero of flight. I don't know if you remember that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've just about fell off my chair when I heard that a hero of flight. It's they buy these honorariums and these honors because they have to, because they don't have enough real good deeds to merit them. And absolutely, Harry and Meghan are far more dangerous to the country, to their family, and they can never be let back in, Dan. They can never be let back in for the appalling behavior that they caused, the torturing the last moments of the beloved Queen's life, defying her directives that they not commercialize their titles and use them for profit. I mean, they've done everything in the book. They are the villains of our era. And Prince Andrew, his misdeeds really have just basically cast him in a bad light. Unfortunately, they've done reputational damage to the monarchy, but he never set out to do harm, to bring down the monarchy. He never made charges against the monarchy that were so damaging, equating them as a racist family. It's just so appalling that anyone could equate that as they do on the left.
100%. And look, I try and cover this story, Lee, without a lot of the hysteria that we see elsewhere, because I do always like to point out the fact that Virginia Giuffre, the late Virginia Giuffre, who has made these allegations in her posthumous autobiography, is not a reliable witness on a whole load of areas, Lee. She lied about Alan Dershowitz. She lied about another victim of Jeffrey Epstein. She's had to change her story in terms of one of the sexual interactions with Andrew. Now, that is not to defend the fact that Andrew lied to the world. It's really not. I think Andrew and Fergie have brought shame on the royal family and themselves. But I think there just needs to be just a degree, a touch of, look, what is one of the great things that we believe in the United Kingdom? It is that concept of innocent before proven guilty. And I think that's going out the window. In fact, we saw earlier in the weekly, Sly News, the British news channel, literally broadcast a guest suggests that the best way out of this for all concerned would be for Andrew to shoot himself with a revolver after a glass of whiskey. And all I'm saying, Lee, is that I know that this man, and he may be a disgraced man, and that may be, and I think it will be, how history remembers him, Lee. But he is a human being. There are deep psychological concerns for him. And indeed, let me just show you this, Lee, before you react. But first, as we get older, you notice it. After a cold, a hard workout, even a long week, recovery just isn't as quick as it used to be, right? That bounce back factor matters. And it turns out the secret isn't luck, it's stem cells, your body's built-in repair crew. With age, that system slows down. Fewer cells, weaker signals, slower recovery. That's exactly why Qualia created Qualia Stem Cell. Think of it this way. Your cells are powerful. Qualia Stem Cell helps keep them that way. It's crafted with nature's heavy lifters, sea buckthorn, royal jelly, and more to support your body's natural repair system so you can keep moving, healing, and thriving. You don't have to accept slowing down. This is about supporting better aging by reactivating the systems that help you bounce back. And it's refreshingly simple. You take it just 4 days a month. So if you've ever felt like your body just doesn't bounce back like it used to, whether it's after a tough workout, getting sick, or just the wear and tear of life, this is for you. Qualia Stem Cell was designed to support your body's natural repair systems, helping you heal, recover, and keep going strong. And right now, you can try it for up to 50% off at qualialife.com/Dan. And here's a bonus. Use the code Dan for an additional 15% off your order. So that's QUALIA life.com/Dan. Your body's built to repair itself. Qualia just helps it do it that better. And a big thanks, by the way, to Qualia for sponsoring this episode of Outspoken. But now, back to the show.
Say, of course, that there's no imputation of guilt of Prince Andrew. The presumption of innocence is with him like everybody else. However, it's the royal family. He's an honourable man. He's an officer and a gentleman. Now, the traditional and honourable way out of a situation like this involves a tumbler of whiskey, a loaded revolver in the study.
So all of the people, Lee, who care so much about Meghan Markle's made-up mental health travails don't seem to give a damn about this man. I just think it's gone too far.
Gone too far. Dan, that made my blood boil when I saw that clip originally. And I mean, it makes me think of the horrible things that have been said about Charlie Kirk. I mean, how could anyone be that cold-blooded as to suggest what that creature just suggested in the clip that you just showed me? It baffles me, but the left, when this comes from people on the left, it doesn't surprise me, because I think they are less decent and respectful of human life and respectful of tradition and respectful of all that I hold dear as a third party, considering the royal family and, all of the things that they bring, that I would caution Britons who want to do away with the royal family to consider deeply before they go too far down that route.
Indeed. And one of the issues, Lee, and one of the reasons that we're here is because of the so-called suicide, although I don't believe that, of Jeffrey Epstein. We don't want another one. And there are very real concerns, by the way, about Prince Andrew's mental health. The king is concerned that the brother could indeed take his own life. I know for a fact that he has been under a lot of psychiatric care in the past. And this is something that Charlotte Griffiths, we know she is the very well-connected pro-Harry editor-at-large of the Mail on Sunday, revealed last night on GB News. Watch.
Well, what I would say is that people that I know, sources, are starting to genuinely worry about his mental health. And although I think he does deserve a lot of scrutiny, it has been day after day after day for best part of 2 weeks now. And I wouldn't want it to get so far that, something bad happens to him. And we know Princess Beatrice went to visit him the other day. And I think that's because he is in a bad place. And I don't have sympathy for him, but I just would be aware that when the pylon is this intense, it's coming from every angle. As you say, he's now got pressure from America, he's got pressure from Parliament, he's got pressure from his family. It is a lot for one human being to take. And many people might say, well, he deserves it. But I am hearing just the odd voice saying, God, I hope he's going to be okay. And he's, because we haven't heard really from him other than that statement. Although I would say the statement was quite bombastic. I have to say, I haven't heard anyone accusing the victims of being in the wrong. That's news to me, and not something I personally agree with. Having read bits of Virginia's book, I thought that was really quite shocking, and actually reminded me that this is about the victims and not just about Andrew and the lodge and the titles.
Well, of course, but the problem that you've got there is that Virginia Giuffre has made false claims against other victims of Epstein who are continuing to sue her in the US. So it's just not as simple as that. Charlotte Griffiths did have more news, though.
Sources are telling you that he's, really feeling the pressure. He's under a bit of mental health strain. How, as far as you understand or know, how are the family reacting? Is the king there supporting him? Dare I say Prince William? Has he had a change of tune, a change of heart towards his uncle?
No, not really. I think that's the problem. He's being stonewalled by a lot of his family. Possibly even his own daughters are finding it very difficult to work out how to communicate with him at the moment. A lot of his friends have dropped him. I mean, actually, nearly all of his friends have dropped him. And he is, of course, he's basically barricaded himself in Royal Lodge. And as of today, you know, when it was discussed in Parliament, it looks like the game is really up on that Royal Lodge debate. You know, he's been able to say he's got a cast iron lease all along, but now there's going to be scrutiny. It just seems very unlikely he's going to be able to keep hold of it. So it does seem like he's sort of homeless on top of everything else.
Lee, your reaction?
Well, I would never seek to defend the actions of Prince Andrew and the lying and all that's gone on, but I really do feel that there's been a pileup on him that is intolerable and unbearable, rather. And now he's receiving subpoenas from Democrat, I might add, members of the House of Representatives to come and testify before their committees. I mean, Dan, why? There are so many American names, and I say this as an American, there are so many American names that they should be exploring, delving into. Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, so many people on that list. Why are they piling on to, I don't want to say poor Prince Andrew, but why are they piling on to Prince Andrew? They're doing it because he's an easy target. Because he's royal, they don't, he won't be defending himself in a sort of ghastly way. Only Prince Harry does that. He does take to the airwaves and say things that are terribly in defiance of his heritage. But I don't think we would see that from Prince Andrew. And I feel this is terribly unjust. And that does not divorce anything, or I'm not seeking to create any pity for him for his role in the whole Epstein affair. But it's just how he's been treated. And it seems like with double standards.
Well, no, indeed. Indeed. And I think it is a very fair point, Lee. And it's one that I've made for quite some time, that the only people who really have faced justice for Jeffrey Epstein's crimes are Brits. Prince Andrew, who's literally lost everything apart from his freedom and liberty, and Andrew Lowney believes even that will go. He told me yesterday here on Outspoken that he will end up in prison. That's his prediction. And Ghislaine Maxwell, who, of course, lost her liberty. And as you say, what about Bill Gates? What about Bill Clinton? What about Katie Couric, who quite recently was praising Harry and Meghan as humanitarians? Lee, she was at the same dinner party, hosted by Jeffrey Epstein in New York in 2011, sitting alongside Prince Andrew. No consequences for her at all because she's a lefty. Tom Sykes does have some interesting information, though, Lee, and I was quite heartened by this in a weird way, even though he thinks it's terrible. Look at the headline here from the Royalist. Prince Andrew's shooting friends say they can't wait to have him back. And Tom Sykes writes that friends of Prince Andrew have told the Royalist that he is looking forward to the Peasant and Partridge shooting season kicking off in just under 2 weeks' time, and that he has his usual roster of days and overnight shooting parties booked for the winter. One friend said Andrew has been treated monstrously by his family. He has done everything they have asked. He has been found guilty of no crime. Another shooting acquaintance of Andrew's told me that they understood that he would be keeping his Windsor Family Day, to which he has customarily invited friends and business contacts. He is likely to receive multiple invitations for shoots in England and Scotland over the months ahead, some of which he has attended for decades, hosted by landowning friends who remain loyal to him. Charles's disinclination to strip him of his shooting privileges, which were first gifted to him by his mother and father, will be seen as yet another sign that Andrew's remorse-free and defiant announcement on Friday that he would stop using his title is nothing more than a performative slap on the wrist for Andrew. But, and this is a big but, Lee Cohen, at the end of the day, Andrew's friends who say he has been found guilty of no crime and he has been treated monstrously by his family because he's done everything they ever asked of him, which, by the way, remember, included settling with Virginia Giuffre. He wanted to fight her in court, and the rest of his family said, no, you absolutely cannot overshadow your mother's platinum jubilee. So all I'm saying here is that maybe we just need to think this dude has lost everything, right? He's lost his reputation, he's lost his royal roles, he's lost his charity roles. Do we actually want to drive him into an early grave? Do we really want to do that? Lee, I've been cancelled. I mean, it wasn't at all on the same level as what Prince Andrew is going through, but I absolutely know what it's like when the entire world turns on you and you can't defend yourself even though you know you're innocent. I'm not defending Prince Andrew's actions. I stress that again. I was at the damn News of the World in 2011, Lee, when we were the newspaper that revealed Prince Andrew's friendship with Jeffrey Epstein and those pictures of them walking through Central Park in New York together. So no one can say that I'm soft on Prince Andrew, okay? Look at all of the columns that I've written in the past. I also don't like witch hunts with only one seeming conclusion, stopping someone living. I just think this is going too far.
It's absolutely going too far. In a way, Prince Andrew was cursed by the fact that he was the favorite child of his mother, because she probably went to some lengths to cut him some slack, and that set him up for this terrible situation. But having said that, Dan, I'm totally with you, and the Lowney's book struck me as a bit of a very incisive character assassination, and certainly I won't take away its great commercial value, and I wish him well, and certainly I don't need to wish him well because the book is doing well. But having said that, at what cost to this man? And I, like you, I don't believe in witch hunts. I don't believe in dragging people into just excruciating public assaults like has happened to Prince Andrew. So the conundrum, Dan, is the fact that he belongs to a family that is not a private one, and it's a family that belongs to the nation, and therefore that comes with certain responsibilities, and things have to be handled in a way that's very careful. But I just pray that in doing that, because the first mission must be to protect the monarchy. It must be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Lee, I couldn't agree with you more on that. I mean, again, let me just stress, it should not be Prince Andrew. I actually agree with that. It certainly shouldn't be the Duke of York. All of these people need to go. I'm actually with William on that. The difference is, I just don't feel like we as a society need to now say, oh, this guy should just shoot himself. Let's take his home away from him. He's lost everything, okay? He's disgraced. He's going to be a tiny little footnote in history, Lee, and this will stick with him every single day of his life, which is that he was the shamed and disgraced second son of the great Queen Elizabeth II. That's it. That is his legacy. He's not going to be able to change that. But that, I think, is punishment enough. That is my view. In saying that, Lee, I'm absolutely with Andrew Lowney. If there is criminal evidence, of course that needs to go through a process. It should be investigated. But I just think some of what I'm seeing at the moment is going too far. But look, Lee Cohen, do stand by, because we're going to move over to Substack now for the Royal Uncancelled After Show. And we have some big new information, actually, about the health of King Charles, which is, of course, playing such a role in this story. So come and join us on Substack, www.outspoken.live. Let me just remind you about Substack. It is a free speech platform. It is where I host the Royal Uncancelled After Show every single weekday, Monday to Friday. If you subscribe as a paid monthly or annual member, you get first access to the full Royal Uncancelled After Show, twice the length of what you've just seen, with no advertising whatsoever, and you can watch it either live or on demand. So I hope to see you with Lee over on Substack, www.outspoken.live. You can message me directly on there too. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.